Evening, everyone. Hello. Is everybody is able to hear me? Please acknowledge on your chat. Is everybody is able to hear?
Yep, can.
Acknowledge on.
Yes, Aris, you are audible. Now you can start the session.
All right. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. This session going to be a quick 1 hour session, a free demo session that would be regarding the CSP class ongoing from next week onwards. And about the instructor, I am Haris Khan. Uh, Let me just make this full screen and just we should continue with that. Well, my name is Haris Khan. I have over 12 years of IT experience in various domains, in various capacities, from networks to systems to IT support to security engineering. Presently working as a security consultant, mainly working in the security engineering domain of CISSP. Regarding my qualifications, as you can also see on the screen, I have multiple certifications in various domain. It all actually binds back or corresponds back to my experience. Actually, I have been going through various domains in IT security and systems and networks. So I have been doing certifications in each and every aspects of these domains. So what concerns you is that, well, I am already CISSP, so I think this is something that's authorized me to become a valid CISSP instructor. About the batch, this is the third batch in the line that we are delivering right now, and during about the last batch, we have just like one candidate who has just appeared for the exam and he has cleared it in the last week. And well, this session is about CISSP. So let's just go on to the background of this certification. So just let's check up with the with the introduction of the certification. This certification is from the IT Square organization itself, and well, it's kind of considered as a gold standard in cybersecurity industry. Okay, also let me check up something. Does anybody else has the same audio problem?
I guess, Haris, you need to stay near the mic because sometimes when you are away from the mic, so sound is not clear.
All right. All right. Yep. How's now?
Now is perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to continue. Okay. What I was talking about, it's a certification that's offered by CISSP organization, and well, it's considered as a gold standard in cybersecurity industry. So it's a well-demanded certification about the demand. If you can just go on to LinkedIn and just search out for the top demanded jobs, and you will find out that it's the number one requirement for every cybersecurity job that's available on the LinkedIn right now. It's the first it's a first requirement, it's a first certification requirement for every kind of cybersecurity job that you'll find on the internet. Apart from that, if you go on to the second step, it's the CISM that's mostly demanded by many jobs out there on the internet. So you can just clearly predict from here that how demanded is the certification is. The thing that you're seeing on the screen, it's a small little well, picture of something I have taken from Wikipedia. The source is right there at the bottom, and you can easily see and predict that there are like 141,000 total certified members out there in the world, and you can see already, you can already see the distribution of those people all around in the world. The top 10 chart, yeah, you can see that. Well, you can easily see the, well, how many and how much of these guys are there in each and every region in the world. So this can easily just give you an idea about how much demanding the certification is, and how much scope is there for you if you have the certification. So I'm just not enticing you on things, but I'm just giving you the reality that things are going this direction. So why not just go along with the flow? So, well, this is something that I wanted to share with you, and maybe you can just LinkedIn. You can go to LinkedIn and just check out by yourself to better understand this thing. The source right there. You can just check out later after the session ends. So, what's a CISSP exam? Well, some people say it's a it's an inch deep and a mile long certification exam that covers almost almost all the aspects of security in different dimensions of the IT domain. So, about the domains of the CISSP certification exam. Uh, Early 2015, there used to be like 10 domains, and they were splitted, but the topics were almost similar to the one they are that you're seeing right now on the screen. But they were split in 10 domains, and they just changed the course outline in 2018, specifically April 2018, and they moved to the 8 domain strategy of delivering the course and the certification exam. There is an update that's coming up May 2021, and that will be shown up. The differences will be shown up in the next slide. But for now onwards, like from 2018 onwards, there are 8 domains that the certification is covering. So we will be covering all of them. Obviously, it's a part of the course. So what we will discuss in each and every domain, the course is actually planned for a 30 hours duration, but I don't think so. It would slip out to maybe 30 plus hours. I don't know, but we have planned it for 30 hours, because as per my experience and as per my delivery structure and detail that I have been shared with students, I have experienced that, well, it actually slips off 30 hours. Maybe it could be maybe 35 hours or 38 hours. I don't know, but it depends how much people get involved and how much they take interest in that, and the questionnaire sessions and other things, and they just slip this off to the 30 plus hours. All right. Well, let me give you a little bit summary about what we'll be covering in these domains in the coming weekends. We will be talking about domain 1, security and risk management. This domain is all about talking about the basics of the controls and the basics of security. Then we'll move on and talking about the different laws that are applicable in the cybersecurity domain. Since the CISSP certification is all focused on the US based practices of cybersecurity mechanisms and stuff like that. So initially, the CSB certification was all about US laws, but now since it has been kind of like globalized, so the exam contents are pretty much like changing in this place. Like they are including international laws right now in the domain. So we will be talking these laws, like what are the privacy laws, what are the computer laws, and then we will move on to talk about the frameworks. What are the frameworks, what they do, and what are the uses for that. And then we will talk about the big two topics: the risk management and the BCP. This is something that we'll be covering domain 1. And in domain 2, we will be talking about assets and classifications. And then we will define the security for those assets. Basically, What we do is that we just classify the assets, and on basis of their classification, we tend to or intend to provide the security for those assets. So this domain is all about the classification. Then we will move on to the domain 3. It's one of the largest domains in CISSP certification course outline, and basically it's composed of three main topics, three main sections, you can say it. The first section talks about like the systems architecture itself, like what's the part of the structure in architecture, how do the components correlate or make a relationship with each other, how do they communicate information with each other. So we will be talking in section 1 about that. In the section 2 is all about cryptography. We will talk about semantic cryptographic algorithms, asemantic algorithms, and then we will switch on to the applied cryptographic techniques and solutions that are out there in the world. The third and last section, it's about physical security. The physical security is distributed in two places in the CSSP domain. At first, the first section is covered in domain 3, which will be about if you are given a piece of a land to design a security from scratch, what will you do? So this section will cover this physical security part will be covered in domain 3. The second part will be covering up in security operations, domain 7. I will be talking about that when I will reach on this point, but we move on to domain 4. We will be talking about identity and access management. Identity and access management will cover topics like what is an identity, how do we authenticate users, how do we authorize them, how do we account them. So it will give us various solutions out available out there in the market, not particularly any specific solutions, but they will ask about the technologies that are available to identify, authorize, account individuals within an organization, which is maybe centralized or it's dispersed out there at various locations. We will be touching the topic of access control in this domain as well, which will be covering about the different types of access controls, specifically the role-based access control, discretionary access controls, and mandatory access control. One of the famous names maybe security guys have already heard in their job practice. Over to domain 5, we will be talking about communication and network security, like what are the components that make up the network, what are the types of networks, what are the protocols that are involved in communication between the nodes that make up the network itself. And then we'll be switching on to type of attacks that are being confronted by those devices, protocols, and communications. So this is something that's about networks, right? Then we will be talking in domain 6 about the security assessment and testing methodologies. We will be differentiating the security audit, the security assessment, and the methodologies that will be used to cover up in those mentioned topics, like what is vulnerability assessment, what's pen testing. We will not deep diving into each every topic because it's a whole new world. Each topic is a whole new world, but we will be just checking up with what's the purpose of each and every topic, and how does a security professional should be worried about each and every section, like why we should do vulnerability management, what's the purpose of that, how we do that, what's the management of patch, what's the purpose of patch management, and what's the motivation behind doing the pen testing in the organization. So we will be touching those things in domain 6. It's a relatively small domain. If we talk about the length of the domains, domain 2 and domain 6 are the smallest domains in the CSP course outline. In the domain 7, we will be talking about security operations, like you have settled up all the security devices, you have planned the network, you have deployed your information security management system in the organization, and now you want to maintain and manage the system. So what are the things that you have to consider for that? Like you have to consider the availability of the systems, you are concerned about the laws, you are concerned about the best practices, you are concerned about due care and due diligence that you have to follow up. So This is something that we'll be talking about domain 7, and the second section would be about the physical security part 2, which will be covered about which will be covering more deep topics in the physical security, like what are the kind of doors that we have to be worrying about, what are the locking systems we have to be worried about, what kind of locks we can use at which places, what kind of doors, which kind of walls, what are the nature of the walls that we have to be worrying about, how do we do zonings and controls at various places, and what are the access control planning mechanisms in physical security, and then the surveillance mechanisms, what are the surveillance mechanisms available, and what what are the achievements which we can get from those physical controls. So this is something that will be covered in domain 7. And on domain 8 we will be talking about software security, software development security. So in this domain, we will be starting off with the software life cycles, like what are the various software life cycles available from the waterfall, from the spiral to Scrum and Agile and other methodologies. We will be talking about small little details about what are the ways in which these processes are being utilized in the software industry, and then we will try to integrate security into the software. How do we do that? So what are the steps? Where should we involve security in the development process? We will be covering that in this domain. And after that we will be covering up the different software insights, like how the software is built and how they are interacted, what are the platforms that will be hosting your software. So you have to know about that to integrate security adequately for the platform and operating system in our environment in which the software will be working. So we will be talking about the interactions of the operating system, routines, and processes in context of application itself. And then we will finally talk about the different attacks that are confronted by these applications, these software applications. And specifically, we will be talking about OS top 10, and we will be discussing the various mitigation techniques that are applicable that we can use to mitigate those vulnerabilities and these weaknesses which we will be finding out in the software. So this is pretty much everything that we will be discussing in the CSSP course outline. These are just some the summary that I have just mentioned, but there's much more to that which will be coming up in coming weeks, um, provided we go on with this course. And so what about the curriculum? How do we go with the course? How do we start with the course? So this is something that I have planned, and this is something we have been following for quite long time. But again, I always give students the option of giving us suggestions on what are they comfortable on, and we do consider this their suggestion on what are they comfortable on, and when you just go on with a proper day and time that they are comfortable with. But what we do is that most of the time we are following up with the Pakistan Standard Time, which is 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. every Saturday. So this is something that we have been doing, but because most of the students are comfortable with this timing, so that's why this is the suggestion. But again, it's an open offer. We can just consider what's the students offering, what's the student is suggesting. We can just consider that, and we just move on with that. Okay, so we talk about the exam uh, itself, like how much is the exam, how much length is the exam, or what's the nature of the exam. So the exam, as you can see on the slide, it's a 3 hours long exam. It has 100 to 150 questions. I will come to that why it's written so way. Well, the questions are all multiple choice questions. There are it's already this advanced innovative questions available in the exam, but uh, as per my experience and my student experience, for like last 10, 20 students that I have just contacted with, nobody has nobody has just given me evidence of that they have found out any innovative questions. So pretty much I think from my experience and from every 10 guys experience that I have just evident, I'm just providing the I'm the witness for this is actually a multiple choice questions, and the multiple choice questions are like they are like one or two liner questions, and you have four options. Why I'm saying that? Because they are actually timed with the 3 hours time limit, and they are from 100 to 150 questions. And let me explain that. What does it mean? All right. So what I was saying that uh, but the exam is comprised of 100 to 150 questions. Um, the thing is, there are like 25 questions which are unmarked in those 100 to 150 questions. You don't know, you will not know about that, which questions are unmarked questions. uh, but you will see them, and they will be pretty much likely to the questions you will be answering them, like the one which are marked one, right? So the thing is, the exam ends most of the time at 100 questions, and sometimes it ends at 150 questions. So the passing grade is actually 70%. You have to you have to achieve 70% in all the questions you have answered. So the exam works that way. Like, you have to attempt the exam, you start answering the questions, and the exam is a test actually, the computer adaptive testing exam. The computer adaptive testing exam works in this way, that you answer the question, and at the back of the side the algorithm will check out if you have answered it correct or wrong. If you have answered it right, it will throw you even a harder question on the same domain. So if you answer this question as well, it will just keep on asking you three or four questions, and it will switch the domain. And to check out if you are like good on the on the domain on which you have answered the questions, it will switch the domain instantly. Somebody has a question? Okay. So what I was saying is that was saying that well, when you start the exam, you keep on answering the questions. So the cat based algorithm will actually testify you on your skills. Like it will check out if you have answered the like three or four questions in a certain domain. It will switch the domain and will check out if you are good at another domains or not. So if you are wrong at some place, if you answer something wrong, it will try to hammer you on this. It will try to check out how good you are on that particular domain. So sometimes, say for example, if a guy is attempting an exam, and he has answered some question, and then he is moving on, and maybe in the next question he has answered it wrong. So the algorithm will check out, well, if the guy is really good at the domain, the algorithm will actually give him more questions on the same domain. So if you keep on answering it wrong, maybe there is a limit. And that limit is that, well, if the guy actually answers maybe 20 questions, or maybe there's a limit, like if there's a 20 questions which are given to this candidate, and the candidate tends to just answer three or five questions and the other questions are like they are wrong, right? So it definitely makes him kind of like, the algorithm learns it, well, the guy is not well versed or well prepared on this domain. So this check is done on question number 100. So on question number 100, the first time the calculation of probability is done, on which it's checked that, well, if you are able to achieve a 70% mark or not. So if you are not able to make to 70%, like you have 50 questions left and you have achieved 100 questions, you have attempted 100 questions, and you will be like the algorithm will think, well, if the probability of answering the next 50 questions is such that the candidate is able to achieve a 70% mark, so it will show you the next question. It will keep on doing that until 150 questions are achieved, right? So the algorithm will work this way, and you will keep on answering these questions like that. So it's kind of different from other exams. One more thing, there are no dumps available out there in the market. If somebody is saying to you that, well, there are dumps available and you can use it, so they are actually lying. There is no dumps available. That's why it's the most demanded exam out there in the market. So what I would like to tell you about this is that, well, how do they make exams? Well, they have like 30,000 questions in the question bank, and these questions are changed every month. So if you happen to know like 150 questions, say for example in a week or 2 weeks time, so they will definitely be changed, because you don't know how much time will it take for you to like like how much time they will switch switch the questions. But it's for sure that, well, these questions are changed every month, and they have a database of like 30,000 plus questions that are being rotated in a month period time, and after 1 month they just change those questions. So nobody can actually kind of like get all the 30,000 questions, and nobody knows that how much question will come up with which student, because it's all about student's capability of answering a question on a particular domain. If he answers it right, so he just moves on to the next domain. If he answers it wrong, he sees more question on the same domain. So this is something that makes it difficult to predict the questions. But again, some people say that, well, we have found out some questions that were similar, but you cannot actually predict all the exam. That's why I'm saying, if somebody is saying there are dumps available, there are no dumps available. So coming up uh, with the differences, well, this is the 2021 May 20, the one which will be live in 2021. The exam which will be live in 2021 May 2021 actually. This exam will be on the pattern of weights that are mentioned on the right side of the column, right side column, right? So what are the differences? The first column, um the first column which is on the left, right? This column, let me just point this out. This is for 2000. Uh, this section is for 2018, and this is about to go live May 2021. So this was the old pattern, in which the weightage was designed the way it's written over there. So as per you can see that, well, there are only two places where the differences has been added. We have the domain for which has been moved from 14% to 13%, and the other domain is software development security, in which the remaining 1% has been added to the software development domain part. So we have a very little difference. So what makes this, what affects us in our preparation? Well, there is not a very big difference. So you can use the books which are released for the 2018 version. You can also use it for the May 2021 version. There's not a very big difference. Allow me to check some questions if there are any on the chat window. Uh, Abu Zaid, I will be explaining the what are the experience requirements for the exam. Yeah, I will be explaining that later on after once I finish the slides. Yes, I will be talking about the exam fees, Muhammad Hassan. Yeah, I will be talking that up after I finish up with the slide. Yeah, that's Al Hassan. Yeah, I was. This is something I was telling you about. There is no such changes. Like, there are very minor changes in the 2021 version. They have added cloud part, like uh, if you talk about the security operation part, there are some there was a light touch with the cloud security part, but since the cloud has been kind of getting kind of very obvious now in the security market, so they have added pretty much a little bit more topics on the cloud side, like the container security and some cloud pen testing and cloud security stuff that they have added up in the security. So it's all about, like, there are some few topics being added, but these topics are such that, well, they can be managed by just reading up 4 or 5 pages in a book, right? So if you're using the old version of the book, it's all right. It's really all right because you're already covering a lot, like maybe it's 95, or maybe let's say 97%. You're almost covered with the course outline. With the 3% you have to study extra, like those topics which I mentioned, like cloud security, container security. This is something that we have to be like covering up, and not more than that. So there's not a very huge difference. It's just a switching of some topics, not a big, very big, huge difference. So about the recommendations for the start of the studies for this exam, uh, this is the number one recommendation for starting up the studies. Let me clear up the slide first. Okay, so this this book has this is a book from Sean Harris, the 8th edition, and it has like 1400 pages, and well, it's really a very big book. So if on this slide, if we discuss about how much time would it take to prepare for the exam, there are multiple variables involved in that. If you are like if you're doing a job that demands you to do 8 or 10 hours time work activities for the job, so it would be kind of like maybe little bit difficult, but it all needs planning. But some guys who are free on Saturdays and Sundays sometimes, so they can also do up the thing. But if you are a guy who has like 8 or 10 hours job and you are trying to take this exam, so what I would recommend is that maybe you guys uh, should start with at least 2 hours per day study, which makes up to like um maybe 40 pages per day. And on top of that, on weekends, maybe you can try for at least 6 hours. If you do that, it's like you will be able to finish the book in almost 3 months. So this is not the end. You just finish the book. It's not the end. Once you finish the book, uh, you go for the practice questions. You do as much practice question as much possible and find out the weaknesses that you have faced with yourself, and you go back and just fix those weaknesses. So this time would be like maybe a month. A month is enough to do this thing. So after that, you feel like you're confident, so you can just touch up the exam. And I guess this is something. This is the path that, well, someone who has planned the things can just take that path. But I think well, there it's not that much like realistic. Sometimes people just go delayed, sometimes people forget things. So what I would advise those guys is that, well, you have to make a plan for that. It's not a simple certification exam which you just read the book and go away and just check out the certification exam and go and sit on the test center and just pass the exam. uh, it's a costly exam. I will talk about that in the coming few slides. How much cost is that? So you have to plan for that. So about the reviews for this book, is uh, very well written by Sean Harris, and it's more detailed on many topics. So what I mean to say is that, well, if you have enough time, ample time, like say for example, ample time means if you have 6 months plus time to 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 target this certification, so you can start up with this book, because this book is very detailed on many topics. So what I mean by saying this, that sometimes the book actually explains the topic way beyond the requirements of the CISSP certification course outline. So if you need to know more details about a particular topic, so you go for this book. Uh, well, out there in the wild, some people say that if you don't have any idea about cybersecurity, you need to start with this book. Then, if you have a particular, like you have an idea, you have already been doing job like for 5 or 10 years, whatever, right? So, so I guess in this case, this is not the option for you. You can go on with the next option, which I will be showing you up in the next slide. But well, what I would say is that this is the my number one recommendation because it's really good read book. If if you read this book, I don't think that you have wasted your time. You have studied way lot of things that you will never ever know in your job practice because Sean Harris will explain her experiences about how security works from the scratch up. So this is something that's worth it. Like you will never think that well you have wasted your time with this book. This book is very big, but also it's very much informative on cybersecurity topics, many topics. Even let me give you an example. Uh, what I told you is that in the physical security, uh, give me you a comparison on one small little topic. Uh, if you talk about Sevex, they will mention the physical security with surveillance being possible with CCTV cameras, and they will give you like 4 5 liner explanation about this topic. But when you go with Sean Harris, they will check out and will tell you about what are CCTV and how do you plan it, what are the different lenses type that each cameras use, and what are the different camera types that can be used, and what are the planning ways like for the short short vision, like for the near sightness, what are the camera recommendations for the long vision. Maybe if you want to view something that is far away, so what are the recommendations for using for the cameras types that you can use for those kind of scenarios. So how do you place those cameras? So even this is something I'm telling you the difference about this topic. This book goes way beyond the details and requirements of the CSSP exam course time itself. If you need that kind of details on a particular topic, you can just choose this topic. This is one way. The second thing is that if you don't have much idea about cybersecurity, so you can go up with the with this book to evaluate yourself if you know cybersecurity well enough or not. The topics that I had mentioned on the previous slide about the 8 domains in which we will be, which I've mentioned that these topics will be covered in each and every domain. If you have heard the topics and the titles that I've mentioned on those domains, if you know those topics, so I guess you already know a lot about cybersecurity stuff. So you can just start up with the next book recommendation that I will be giving you on the next slide. Necessary networking basis like switching, routing in order to learn cybersecurity. No, Asan, it's not a requirement. The switching and routing part is something that I told you in domain 4. They say that, well, you need to know about the components that make up the network, how they interact with each other, what are the protocol requirements, how do these protocols work in the network, what are different domains of networks like the WAN side, the LAN side, the wireless side, the cellular side, and how do they communicate. So we just need to know about these kind of things. We do not need to know how to configure a router or a switch because this exam is a management, technical management kind of an exam. So it will try to teach you about what are the different topics that you as a security professional or as a CISO you have to consider when you are trying to make an information security management program, or you're trying to manage something, the information security department or something. You need to know about each and every topic in somehow, but do not need to know about the configuration stuff because you're not a decision maker. This CISSP exam considers you as a decision maker. So there's something happening in the organization, and you are given the responsibility of how to respond or how to enact or how to move forward from this place onwards. Something, say for example, if there's a guy who is kind of like stealing the laptop from your organization, what should you do? So you're not supposed to just catch the guy, because you're not the guy who catches those bad guys. You're the guy who makes policies. So you just inform the relevant department who is responsible for catching those guys. That is a security department. So you need to know that. So these kind of concepts are something that will be discussed in the CISSP exam. Okay, the second recommendation is, well, it's Sevex if you don't have much time, and or else if you have enough cybersecurity experience. So you can start up with this book. The good side about this book is it will tell you, it will teach you, it will give you knowledge enough for the certification exam. It will not give you less knowledge, or not will give you more knowledge. It will give you the knowledge that is appropriate for the certification course outline. This is the plus point for this book. The negative point is some topics are not that uh, mentioned in detail as much they are expected to be mentioned, because one of the example, uh, one example is SOC. SOC is a kind of a report that is being demanded by some organizations from their customers or their partners, to know if the customer or partner is capable enough to handle the information and risk being shared by the providing organization or not. So they need to provide this kind of a report. There are multiple kinds of reports, like SOC type 1, type 2. There are multiple categories, but I'm not going to that. But for now, just know that there are like three categories of SOC reports. If you talk about the Sevex books, this topic is covered in like 3 to 4 lines. But let me tell you, every CISSP candidate tries to who tries to attempt the exam, he gets at least one question from this topic. Always gets one question from this topic. But this topic is mentioned in like 3 to 4 lines in Sevex book. So sometimes you will see something that's mentioned too less in explanation in this book, that you are expecting it to be more like you are expecting it to be that the author should have explained it little more, so that you could have gotten a better grip of the topic. So this is something that's mentioned very less in Sabek's book, but you can find a little bit considerable detail that could be available to you in Sean Harris' book. But this is something that's the difference, that some topics are not mentioned in very detail as expected. The second drawback is, people say the book is very dry. There are no, like, not enough in examples given to understand particular topics. Some people complain about that. This is something, it's all on readers, right? So if some readers are well experienced and they do not complain much, but if the guys who have never touched each and every domain part or in technology or in cybersecurity, they will complain a lot about that, because they will say that, well, something is not mentioned as much enough as they are expecting it. Well, but again, most of the guys also use this book as a material for studying for the exam. uh, about the roadmap, it's mandatory to read at least one of those two books. It's not a choice. You have to read one of the two books. uh, a sci book, I haven't heard about that, but still, are you talking about uh, the the official guide, or what? uh, you're talking about Sevex? I don't know. I think you mistyped the word or what? Cyborg. I don't understand what does cyborg means. No, no, as in, I haven't came across this reference. I don't know, but I don't know if it's good for you. You can understand it. You can go along with that. But what I wanted to say is that, well, it's mandatory to go along with one of the two books that I have mentioned. Either you choose the Sevex path, or on the flip side you select the Sean Harris path. One of the two paths. You cannot move along. All right. The third recommendation. It's a book from Eric Connert, one of the well-known instructors in SANS. If I do a course CISSP from Cybrary and Simpleton, well, if you can do the course from them, well, it's all right. Well, the Cybrary, they are very well known in that. About Simpleton, these guys are not much worst. I have experienced both of them. And what I would say is, don't waste time on simple one, because it will lead you to nowhere. It will actually again put you on the same position you are right now, deciding about which course to decide. So better if you have Cybrary, you just try this out. But simple learn, I guess it's not that good, or it's not worth it. But Kelly from Cybrary, she really knows her stuff. She really is a good teacher. So I was talking about the third uh, the third recommendation. You can use the book The 11th Hour from Eric Connor, and well, this book it's kind of like short in terms of, well, uh, as the name depicts, it's an 11th hour. And why it's so? It's because if uh, uh, it's like, if you have prepared the exam and now you have like 3 or 4 days to sit for the exam, so you want to revise something, you cannot just go along, go back again and check out the 1100 pages for the Sevex or 1400 pages for the Sean Harris book. So why not just choose some book which is kind of short, and which gives you the information in the form of summary or something. So this book is something when you can use, well, as the name depicts, 11th hour. You have prepared yourself and you want to revise the stuff beforehand. They are 238 pages, and what the guy is really, really experienced and he really knows his stuff. Yes, sure. I will be sharing the slides as well. It's not a big deal. Well, I will share the slides. Not a problem. Well, I was saying that, well, if you are if you're trying to prepare, and you have prepared for the exam, and now you are want to revise something, so this is the first recommendation you can go with. There's another recommendation. There's a process guide uh, that's already out there on the internet. Just search it out. File type PDF process CSS process guide, and you know you are there, right? The first link that will show up on the Google, if you will check out, well, it's a process guide for CSSP. It's also being used by many guys. Even I myself have used that. So well, this is something that you can find out easily on the internet. This is something many people have used it. So well, if you want to revise something, you can just go along with either this book or maybe a process guide. There are multiple process guides by many people. Many people have done that, but there's one famous one. You just write it down. The name, this is something, someone from an Indian guy who has written it. I don't know his name yet now, but well, it was not my concern who has written it. My concern was to read it out, to so that I can revise things up every day. So you can just write out CSS process guide, file type, PDF, and you will just straight go to the place where this file is actually hosted. Yeah. I will just throwing you the book names. It's not big deal. Yeah, I will share you the book names. Okay, some other minor recommendations. Some guys go up with the CBK. Well, uh, well, let me explain to you how the books are being organized. Uh, well, the first book that is being released for the CSSP course outline is a CBK book, and then people once this book is released, then other guys from other industries or maybe from the security industry, they try to explain the book because the book is kind of very dry and harsh and will, well people sometimes say that well there are mistakes in the book. So this is the book that's first released after the release of the course outline, and then the people try to make other explanations for the things that were mentioned in the CBK. The first one is Sean Harris that I have already told you. The second is the Sevex one. So it's kind of like some people are comfortable with the CBK while others are comfortable with Sean Harris, or sometimes some people say that Sebex is a good book. But this is uh, how the book writing sequence goes on. Yeah. So well, it's not a good recommendation to go up and start with this book because maybe well you will not understand much. Well, it's all up to you. If you're a if you're a native speaker, maybe you can maybe have a good understanding of it. But I guess well many people have told that well the book from Sabex and Sean Harris, they are the one which are kind of like famous, and people can just go along with this path rather to use the CBK path. I have also heard that many people say that well, if they have failed the exam, they just they had already seen the book, the Sean Harris or Sebex book, and they now want to know exactly what the CBK had explained. So they turn to using the CBK for the fallback option in case if they fall down in the exam. So something that I have heard from people, but again, it's not always an option. I'm just sharing you the experiences from the students, what they have experienced and what they are saying about this stuff. Again, book number 5 recommendation from it's in the fifth number. It's a fifth number as the priority also depicts that it's not that much important. But if you think that you have time, or if you think that the books that I have mentioned previously they are not good enough for you, you cannot understand either the English or either the technology or the concepts. So this is something that you can go along. This book has kind of like simple language, very simplified language, but very short form of mentioning of particular topics. You will not, it will not actually uh, kind of like well satisfy you on a particular topic because it's kind of like general understanding of a particular topic. It's not a deep understanding, and or it's not much compliant with the course outline. So I do not recommend that, but I would I would recommend it to use it as a complementary book for the preparation. You cannot use it as a primary book. It's not, the primary books are the one which are mentioned at number 1 and number 2. uh, so CSP Study Guide third edition, it's again from the Eric Conner, the one we mentioned on the last slide, the one with the 238 pages. So if you really like the write up of Eric Conner and you're really impressed with that, and you need to study more about about the topics from the same author, so you can go along and try the CSP Study Guide third edition, 650 pages plus guide. So you can use up this guide as well. Again, it will be like well, it's not from my recommendations, that's why it's on the on point number 6. So if you need to like, it's on you. If you want to just uh go along with this path, like you want to just choose the Eric Honors path, so you can go along with that. I guess uh maybe maybe Wakas has to say something. Just over to Wakas, do you want to say something?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Aris. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I was saying that you wanted to say something, you wanted to add something up on that.
Have you ended your session or still some slides are going to be?
Well, there are like one slide, I guess, remaining. Let me check this up.
Yeah, when you finish it, then I will discuss.
Okay,
And
on
then
this slide, I will be trying to explain the exam cost, and then you can just take on the
yeah,
session, right?
sure,
Well,
sure, sure.
let me cover up two topics over here. The first topic is the experience requirement. Well, the CIC square says that you need to have at least minimum 5 years of experience in two of the 8 domains of CISSP course outline. Right? If you have that, you are eligible for that, and you can take and you can pass the exam, and you are entitled with CISSP certification exam. So on the fallback, there is another option they have given. They say that, well, if you do not have experience, 5 years of experience, they give you an option, like you can take the exam, and you can achieve the associate of CISSP exam, associate of IC square CISSP. So they give you some time, like 8 years for you to achieve the 5 years of experience in two of the 8 domains. Once you achieve that, you can apply for the CISSP professional certifications, and they will actually verify your experiences, and then you will be entitled for the certification itself. So this is the one thing. And now one more thing. Well, they say that there are some waivers as well, in terms of if you have a bachelor's degree or master degree, whatever, you can waive off 1 years from 1 year's requirement, 1 years from a 5 years certification attempt requirement. This is something that is easily be done, like everybody is like bachelor's or MS or whatever. But you can easily waive off 1 year from that, and for 4 years you can justify for your experience somehow. But let me tell you, the 8 domains that I have mentioned, if you are in a security domain, I'm pretty much sure that you have at least 3 or 4 domains that you are already being covered, that you have been doing job on, right? Like you have already covered up 2 or 3 domains. It's not a big deal, because everybody knows how to do identity management. They are doing with they are working on Active Directory services. Everybody knows how to do maybe control employee, like do the firewall stuff, or maybe do some ACLs or something like that, because most of the guys are not from the networks background, so they kind of feel difficult to find out having experiences in two of the 8 domains of CSSP course outline. So there are multiple ways, because if you list down your job responsibility, you can easily figure out that you have already been doing job in multiple domains of CISSP, but you just really don't know about that. It's all about just figuring out how you just lay out your experience. It's not that big deal. But this answer is all about if you are doing a job in an IT domain. If you're not an IT domain guy, obviously you don't have experience, so you have to gain an experience for that. So this answer is only for IT guys. So the second topic is about the cost of the exam. Let me draw a very small little table over here. So in year one, uh, the first cost that you will have to bear is the exam cost itself, which is $699. Once you pass the exam, you have to uh, you have to submit the annual maintenance fees. It's $125. If you do not submit it, you will not be evaluated for your experiences, and your certification will not be considered for the entitlement and endorsement. So once you submit those things, it makes up to like $25. $25. This is the first time fees that you will give for taking the exam. Once you have passed the exam, this is the first year. On the second year, you will give the same $125 onwards for all the years until you want to maintain the certification. So this is one requirement that you have to submit the annual maintenance fees, the membership fees, right? This is the first requirement. The second requirement is um, you have to submit some continuing professional education hours. And as per ISACA, they say that over a 3 years period of time, they ask you to maintain a 120 CPEs, right? So you split it up into 40 hours chunks or each every year, and each year you submit like 40 hours of education in terms of if you have done some certification, like if you have done CISSP, you can submit like 20 hours or something, right? It depends how much hours of training you have done or you have just taken. If you have some project experience which you have done, if you have some conference you have attended, so all of them, but all of them can be added as CPEs. So you just consider this up and you add this up and submit this as well. You have gained the 1 year's 40 hour CPEs this year. You can, it's not a limitation that you want to like, it's not a limitation like if you say that, well, you haven't gained 40 hours in a first year, you can do this in the next year or in the years onwards. So it's all about you have to gain 120 hours or you to show up 120 hours time, 120 hours CPs for the certification renewal. They are kind of soft on that. They are not much strict on that. If most of the time they kind of like demand you for submitting the certificate for the training you have taken, but most of the instances they are not that much strict on that. Okay, one more thing I want to mention is, it's a $125 annual maintenance fees. It's not for CISSP, it's the whole membership fees. So what I mean to say is that, well, if you have done, there are multiple exams from I square. I have mentioned only CISSP. CSP has other concentrations as well. So if you intend to take other exams from CSSP, so IC Square says that if you take any other exam, even any other exam. So if you have like 2 certifications from IC Square, 4 certifications, regardless of number of certifications you have taken from IC Square, you have to only submit $125 annually. It's like this is the plus point from the IC Square. On the flip side, if you go to the SACA and do something from their uh, portfolio, they will ask you to submit annual maintenance fee for each certification you have achieved. So, like say for example, you have attained CISM, you have maybe you have to submit $80 for that. If you have serious, you have to $80 for that as well, and so on. So it keeps on adding. So this is something, this is the good something good about IC Square, that well, they don't charge you much on that, and they're kind of soft on the checking side as well. As you mentioned regarding the security cloud topics, they will be in next update. Could you recommend us as references? Yes, that's right. That's right. Who is that? Alasan, yep. Yeah. What I was mentioning was the differences between the 2018 course outline and the one that will be live in May to 2021. So those topics that I have mentioned, these new topics, the names of new topics, these are relevant to the 2021 course outline. So they are not live right now. They will be live in the May 2021 exam, not right now. It's small change. Reset is same, so you can continue from the current available edition. All right. Yep. Yep. So I think this is it from my side, and I think this is the end of the session. So you guys can ask me any questions if you want to.
Thank you, Horace. Yes, guys, anybody has some questions they can ask. Trainer is with us for more than 10 minutes.
Uh, Tell him about my study plan and cost for your classes, and will provide study material and questions. Yeah. Well, about the cost of the certification exam, Vakas will explain on that. About the study plan, what I had done, well, I have been jumping on to different projects, so my plan was kind of like very huge plan. It took me like 1.25 years to prepare for the exam. It's quite a big amount because I have been like on and off to different projects, so I didn't get catch up much on my project on my this plan of preparation for the exam. But what I did was that I have studied three times uh, the Sean Harris book, one time Sevex book, one time Dummies book, one time uh, Eric Conner book. This is something that I have been doing something, right? But I landed up with Sean Harris, and she is kind of really good at writing, so I love the book. So what I experienced is that with this book is something that everybody should try. Don't try with other books if you don't know, but this is something recommendation from my side that you try this one book. So I did this up in like maybe maybe 9 months or 10 months time, and then I moved to the questions part in which I did like almost 10,000 questions. I tried 10,000 questions from different sources. Most of them are easily available on the internet. So I will be sharing the material with you, provided if somebody is willing to take the exam, no issues with that. So I will be providing the material as well if you're willing to go along with that. But I did that. I did the 10,000 plus questions, and then I just well found out that well I wanted to make sure that well I will really pass the exam. That's why I was kind of really kind of sentimental about the things. That's why I did that much study and that much questions. But on average, I guess 5K questions and at least one book is enough to take the exam. For Pakistan, the price will be all right.
Yeah. Yes, dears. If everyone wants to join the Pakistani students, the price will be 25K, and for the international students, it will be 200 USD only. The badge will be starting from next Saturday, and I am just writing the contact details for you can contact us. So the badge is already confirmed. There are 3 to 4 students who have already paid for this, and they will be joining from the next Saturday. So the badge is will be live. It will be the same timing, but definitely it will not be a 1 hour sessions. It will be a 3 hour, 3 to 4 hour session. So we will be starting in the next week. So waiting for the more confirmations from your side. If anybody wants to join, they can contact us. I'm just leaving the details. In the meanwhile, if somebody has questions, they can really ask us on the pricing or everything. Yes, the courses will be on the weekends, as I told you. It will be on Saturdays only. So the classes, as I told you, it will be from 2 to 6, the same timings, and we will go along with from the next Saturday. So the guys who will paid and who are already paid we will be starting the next week. Okay, the training, it will be uh, as I told you, it will be 40 hours trainings, Haris, right?
That's right. Let me explain that.
Yeah.
Let
Yep.
me just jump in on that. Well, as I already mentioned on slide number 2, it was that well we will be conducting 8 sessions, each 4 hours long, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. PK, uh, PKT. So this is the timing, and well, it's every week, right? This is something. What we will be providing you on the on for the preparation is that well, we can provide you with the material that's required, the one which is already mentioned, like the books. We can help you with that. Apart from that, we can provide you with some MCQs for practices. I guess maybe 4,000 plus MCQs we can just provide with that. And well, this is enough material, and maybe we can also provide you the consulting and guidance. It's all right, it's free of cost, no issues with that. So if you're trying to take the exam, we can provide you confidence, we can evaluate you on that, if you're already ready for that or not. So we can just check you out on these things, and then we can advise you that whether you should not attempt the exam right now, or maybe you just study again, or something that you have to reevaluate on yourself. We can just give you those things as well. It's not big deal. So this is something that we can provide you on the training. Training is not something that we will be delivering you something on the slides and that's it. The slide will be also part of the delivery. We will be giving you up. You can just read them up, and if you can make your schedule the daily you want to read those much amount of slides so that you remember things. So how many sessions will there be mock test, and how much how to source how to how to source the book? What do you mean by that? Sorry, Hussein, I didn't get your question. Well, we will be providing you those books. No issues with that.
We
Well,
will providing them the PDF format, so
yes, yeah,
you
you
can go
can
through
print
with
them
it.
out if you like, but we will be giving you the PDF versions.
Nowadays, everyone wants to have it in their mobile phone or in the laptop, so just they can go through with it. So and make the the eco green environment. So that's why people don't print it. So have some soft copies. So we will give you the soft copies. Don't worry about it. Any other questions? Yes, because Haris has another cross right now starting after 10 minutes. So Haris may be rushing out right now. Okay, okay. Thank you, Haris. So it was a nice session. So I think everyone has their answers. If somebody has, they can respond to us. They can email to us. They can WhatsApp us. I have just shared the details on the WhatsApp. Sorry, on the chat. So they can WhatsApp. They can call us, and for the registration as well. So thank you very much. Thank you, Aris.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Hello.